Few historical figures have been saddled with scandal, quite like Catherine the Great. And if you've heard the one involving a horse, well, buckle up. Nay, seriously, buckle up. Legend, and by legend, I mean centuries old tabloid trash, claims that our Russian empress met her end in flagrante delicto with a stallion. That's right. Her supposed final act was so outrageous, only a gossip hungry society could dream it up. Let's be clear, Catherine's infamous equestrian escapade never actually trotted out of the stable of reality. The rumor galloped through the gossip salons of St. Petersburg. Did you hear? The Empress and the Stallion, whispered salaciously, morphing into the bizarre bedtime story history refuses to quit. After all, why let facts get in the way of a good horse tale? The real ending? Utterly ungalloping. Catherine died of a stroke, alone, fully clothed, and sadly horse free. Her last intimate encounter wasn't with a stallion, but with the court of public slander. The only thing she ever rode hard was the Russian bureaucracy, and boy, did she ride it straight into superpower status. So why do these stable-based shenanigans stick? Because Catherine enjoyed her lovers, and her male contemporaries couldn't handle a woman wielding both power and paramours. If she'd wanted animal friends, she'd have opened a royal petting zoo, not sparked a salacious scandal. But critics, armed with sexism and snark, relished pinning anything outrageous on a queen who had more nerve and brains than most of her courtiers. The truth? Catherine's real legacy rides on reforms, education, and vast expansion, not animal husbandry. In the end, her post mortem PR nightmare proves that tales of wild women, real or invented, have been newsworthy long before Princess Diana took her turn in the rumor mill. Nay, history does repeat itself. While tales of Catherine the Great involve bizarre animal encounters, myths about Henry VIII focus on equally strange matrimonial deceptions. Ever wonder if Henry VIII might have preferred Madame Tussauds to the marriage bed? If you've ever pictured Britain's most matrimonial monarch cozying up to a wax figure, congratulations. You've wandered into one of history's more gloriously weird what ifs. Here's the scoop. Legend has it that when Henry first laid eyes on Anne of Cleves and found her less than dazzling, he demanded a wax dummy take her place on their wedding night. The story goes that after seeing Holbein's flattering portrait, Henry opted for a lifeless, waxen stand in because nothing says kingly dignity like snuggling a glorified pillar candle. But as sticky as Tudor rumors get, and they can drip with drama, this tale is pure fiction. It likely springs from Henry's very real, thoroughly documented disappointment. He bluntly called Anne unattractive and wasted no time sharing his dismay with the realm. Yet even Henry's famously exacting tastes never stooped to cuddling a silent, unmoving bride. He had courtiers for that kind of cold shoulder. No contemporary diary, ambassador's dispatch, or juicy gossip hints at a wax Anne. If a wax dummy could solve royal marital woes, Henry would have jump-started Madame Tussauds centuries early. Instead, his complaints were picky and personal, not a critique of Anne's melting point. Sure, the marriage was never consummated, but that's where reality parts ways with our wax museum fantasy. The annulment had more to do with politics, Henry's buyer's remorse, and Anne's agreeable nature than any candlelit substitutes. Turns out Tudor divorce courts didn't require a thermos test. So, next time you stroll past a wax figure, remember Henry VIII's lasting souvenirs from marriage were headaches, not hot wax. Just as Henry VIII allegedly used a wax stand in, Queen Elizabeth I's legend speaks of an even more astonishing disguise. Step aside, Shakespearean drama, because the real Elizabethan plot twist isn't betrayal or murder. It's the spicy rumor that Queen Elizabeth I was actually a man in a ruffled dress. Enter the Bisley Boy theory, a tale so audacious it makes Hamlet look like a polite school play. According to this bonkers legend, young Elizabeth died while visiting Bisley, Gloucestershire. Facing the tiny snag of Henry VIII's fondness for solving problems with beheadings, her caretakers allegedly grabbed a red-headed boy to impersonate the princess. Spoiler alert, this so-called Elizabeth would grow up to be the famed Virgin Queen, ruling England with an iron fist, and possibly some seriously chafing corsetry. Fans of the theory point to her love of high ruffs, heavy makeup, and the fact that she dodged every marriage proposal like a dodgeball champion. Surely she was hiding more than just a few wrinkles, and that fierce refusal to marry, was it aversion to suitors or something far more anatomical? Here's the kicker, not a shred of credible evidence backs this story. It's all hearsay, with a generous dash of period costume envy. Elizabeth's elaborate wardrobe and makeup were simply on trend royal armor, designed to project majesty and mystery, and let's be honest, to compensate for the era's terrible lighting. Her choice to remain single wasn't about concealing a secret, it was pure political genius. The only thing she hid beneath those skirts was a killer sense of statecraft. Every doctor, courtier, and attendant recognized Elizabeth as female. Portraits, letters, and even her burial confirm it. Still, conspiracy theories persist, because who can resist imagining Tudor England as the original Game of Thrones spin off? From hidden identities of monarchs like Elizabeth I, the stories evolve into dark ancestral secrets, such as Prince Charles's vampiric lineage. Move over, Twilight. There's a new royal vampire tale in town. Forget sparkly teenagers and awkward love triangles. Today's feature attraction is Prince Charles and his alleged Transylvanian bloodline. That's right, whispered down stately halls and brewed over conspiracy forums is the claim that Charles, yes, that Charles, boldly traces his lineage straight to Vlad the Impaler, not some distant cousin trapped in a damp castle, but Vlad the Third himself, the original Dracula before Bram Stoker put pen to paper. Does this ancestral brush grant Charles the ultimate claim to Transylvania, or just a hankering for rare steak? For anyone picturing the heir apparent donning a cape and sidestepping garlic bread at Windsor banquets, time to debunk. The family ties are thinner than the plot lines of most vampire shows. Royal genealogy is a tangled web. Trace back far enough, and half of Europe can claim Vlad as a weird great uncle. But that doesn't mean Charles naps in coffins, unless it's an unusually drizzly London afternoon. The infamous bloodline buzz was mostly Charles's own cheeky nod. He once waved the Vlad flag to spotlight his conservation efforts in Romania's ancient woods. Far from sprouting fangs or flapping off at dusk, Charles's most vampiric trait is his yearly PSA for the flu shot. And if you're hunting supernatural powers, note his true nemesis isn't sunlight, it's a bad hat day. Still, someone call Netflix. A Windsor Dracula mashup might finally explain all those blackout curtains at Buckingham Palace. Until then, rest easy. The only thing Charles sinks his teeth into is a perfectly toasted scone. Beyond royal bloodlines intertwined with supernatural lore, other royals like Princess Diana are rumored to delve into mystic and occult practices. Princess Diana, not just the people's princess, but the secret queen of a moonlit coven. The image is bewitching. Picture shy Di cackling atop a broomstick, her feathered fringe blowing in the night breeze, enchanting courtiers with a flick of her eyeliner. Was she not only a fashion icon, but also a broom wielding sorceress, secretly stirring cauldrons beneath Kensington Palace? Tabloids bubbled with rumors. Was Diana casting midnight spells, or just flicking a cinnamon scented candle? Did those floral bouquets hide sage for cleansing, or simply reveal her uncanny talent for turning every vase in London into a mini Chelsea flower show? Pop culture delighted in spinning stories of her attending secret society shindigs, when in truth, her most clandestine gatherings involved charity fundraisers, awkward handshakes, and an alarming biscuit intake. If Diana ever led a cult, the dress code was surely tiaras and revenge dresses, not pointy hats and billowing capes. Now let's banish the hocus pocus. Diana's true delights were charity, motherhood, and dodging paparazzi, hardly the ingredients for potion brewing and midnight broom rides. The only spells she cast were ones that made puffy 1980s sleeves vanish overnight, and headlines appeared out of thin air. No cauldron necessary. Yet, dear readers, the media loves a pinch of magic dust. Who needs facts when you can conjure rumors far more enchanting than reality? What Diana truly transformed wasn't water into wine, but public attitudes, compassion, openness, and the revolutionary notion that empathy can be downright spellbinding, tiara or no tiara. And for a royal, there's nothing more magical than that. While Princess Diana's secrets involve cults and witchcraft, another royal mystery surrounds French King Louis the 14th's enigmatic masked twin. Imagine discovering your royal sibling is locked away behind an iron mask. Now that's sibling rivalry on steroids. Forget arguing over who gets shotgun in the royal carriage. At Louis XIV's court, the ultimate family feud was forced anonymity via facial hardware. Picture this: Versailles sparkling, intrigue thicker than the king's signature towering heels, and whispers of a faceless prisoner hidden deep in the Bastille. Enter Myth, striking a dramatic pose. According to catchy gossip and some wildly imaginative 17th century pamphlets, the masked prisoner was none other than the Sun King's secret twin, swapped at birth for plausible deniability. The logic: don't want a medieval succession? Just lock up the spare. Alexandre Dumas, never shy of drama, turbocharged the tale in The Man in the Iron Mask, handing us centuries of armchair detective work and prime movie material. But when historians step in, sans powdered wigs, facts come crashing the party. They've dug through royal archives and found zero evidence for a hidden doppelganger. Louis's closest brush with a double? His impressive collection of elaborate wigs. More likely, our masked mystery man was a disgraced valet, a loudmouth courtier, or some poor sap inconveniently resembling the king. French bureaucracy, bless their detailed hearts, kept meticulous prisoner lists. After all, twin brothers don't usually slip through red tape that tight. And the iron mask? Turns out it was often velvet, not steel. So the only thing ironclad here is the myth itself. Still, between stuffy masks and secret siblings, Versailles' family drama could easily outshine modern reality TV. The intrigue of royal doubles, like Louis XIV's twin, parallels the secret familial scandals attributed to Queen Victoria. Hook. Scandal alert. Did Queen Victoria secretly have a royal bun in the oven? Brace yourself and clutch your pearls. Rumor has it that Her Majesty may have welcomed an illegitimate child so stealthily, even her portrait painter was none the wiser. Cue the dramatic violins and the gasps. Myth. The legend goes like this. Amid producing enough heirs to field 2 cricket teams, 9 to be exact, Victoria allegedly carved out time for a secret rendezvous. The gossip mill went wild, spinning yarns of half-hidden babies, mysterious letters, and secret liaisons, words that, in Victorian times, packed more punch than an unsupervised ankle. Facts. Now the so-called evidence is a bit thin, some ambiguous notes, a creatively vague diary entry, and maybe a wistful glance toward a dashing equerry, hardly prime-time courtroom drama. Conspiracy buffs imagine she could have stashed an entire extra Windsor under her voluminous skirts, but honestly, with nosy courtiers clutching fans and moral outrage 24/7, Victoria barely had time to breathe, let alone sneak off for a secret baby. Punch. And speaking of privacy, palace security was tighter than one of Victoria's corsets. Plus, bedchamber gossip in Buckingham Palace had a shorter shelf life than a British summer. Blink and you missed it. The Victorians were experts at inventing scandal without any actual scandal to go along with it. Bridge. Historians, armed with more skepticism than a Buckingham Palace butler, have sifted through the archives. Their verdict? There's as much legit proof of Victoria's secret child as there is evidence she opened a fish and chips shop. None. Despite the myth's tenacity, the royal family tree stands firm, unshaken, unruffled, and blissfully free of secret saplings. From concealed children to covert political alliances, royal myths culminate in stories of Edward VIII's alleged Nazi conspiracies. Imagine a king so bored by paperwork, he'd rather plot with Nazis than wade through one more royal memo. Meet Edward VIII, the only British monarch who might have preferred trading his ermine robes for lederhosen. Gossip mongers and dusty old files insist that after abdicating in 1936, Edward spent his nights crafting mustache-twirling schemes with Adolf Hitler to reclaim his velvet throne. Enter the Marburg files, dousing the rumor mill with fuel, revealing Edward's late 1930s flirts with Nazi officials. Suddenly, his abdication looked less like a romance scandal and more like an early retirement plan in Berlin. But facts, those party-pooping buzzkills, clarify that Edward ditched the crown for Wallace Simpson, chasing passion and a pinch of scandal rather than pan-European power plays. Sure, historians agree Edward VIII was unusually sympathetic to Germany, but was he plotting a royal comeback with pincer moves on Whitehall while MI5 chewed their nails? Not quite. British intelligence kept close tabs, but their verdict was this. Edward's chances of reclaiming the throne were about as slim as the corgis running the country. Even Hitler entertained the fantasy, wondering if Edward could be a royal puppet should Britain fall. So, Edward was less steely conspirator, more a pawn on Europe's most dangerous chessboard. In the end, rather than storming Buckingham Palace or issuing bunker bound demands, Edward spent his days sunbathing in the Bahamas. Apparently, monarchy is so stressful, even a Nazi collaboration rumor sounded more relaxing than another state banquet.